And indeed, fast hands is what you need for this game. And finally, Dankus has to prove if he has fast hands. He has the tactics, he has the little tricks. But now on this map, he needs to show if he really has it. There's a lot of Dankus fans in here. But now we will see him, how loyal will be to him. I'm with my boy Adaway. How do you feel about the last game?
Well, I mean, it went as we expected. Dankus winning. That is the first time we've seen an Axis victory on Son and Blue on this map. So a really interesting result. And in this game, this is the pure test of your micro ability. You know, what all the players here absolutely love to flex on each other is their ability to move quickly with their hands and emerge victorious of their opponents. And we'll see if who can do that.
That is true in real life in the game. Let us take a look at our basic builds. We're looking at the Axis player first, which is Seemops, if I'm not mistaken. Exactly. Basic opener with the 2 sieves. Very basic. This is a bit what is that word? Uncommon. Uncommon is that word. Improved artillery upgrade. Something we haven't seen in the start yet. And looking at Dankus, he also with a very basic opener, getting his air bonuses. And both players with the 2 civilian factories. In a map like this, that is so micro-based, I feel like the build is a bit less important. Still very important, but a bit less, right? What's important here is coming up with ideas, coming up with these fast hands, and really putting your enemy into the rope, making them sweat, triggering the micro. And whoever gets these encirclements first, whoever can kill the enemy tank first, because I'm predicting both players are going to go do tanks here, it will come down to that, who can get it done.
Yeah, as you say, it's about their hand control, their micro control, and their fast hands. And yeah, as you say, build up maybe not quite as important because there is so many opportunities for a mistake to be made, a tank division to be lost at a wrong moment, and it can all be over really, really quickly if that happens.
That is true, and a beautiful story about Seemops is he played Germany yesterday, just like he did right now, and he lost his heavy tank to Golden, but still won. That was insane, but still comes back, wins the game against Golden. Sure, Golden is no Dankus, but if Seemops can handle the fact that if he can keep the heavy tank from his focus tree, he's going to look so much stronger. He won without it. What can he do with it?
Yeah, exactly. As you saw yesterday, with Golden, you can take the heavy tank, but just overwhelmed across the entire front line by a variety of attacks from his opponent. And as you say, staying active. You know, always being on the offensive, ensuring that your opponent is reacting to your moves, not the other way around. Really important, because if you're the one in control, making the moves that you outlined at the start, and you have yourself under control, and your opponent having to react to what you want to do, they're not planning, they're not thinking about their next move, and it's easy for you to control the game as it moves on.
Yeah, Dankus is taking this very seriously. He takes the silent workhorse exactly at the right moment. I talked to the players yesterday. They did the mathematics on that. The silent workhorse pays itself off in just 6 months, half a year, and then you have a nice PP bonus going on. He goes into the mills. I'm looking over at Seemops, who is also doing the mills. Very equal strats at the moment. Nothing special. The only weirdness we've seen so far is, as we can see right here, that Dankus is doing anti-tank 2, and that Seemops is doing the artillery upgrade. Probably to get this rocket artillery ASAP. Is he looking for a soft attack build maybe? That could be interesting. Let's take a look over at Seemops, what he's planning.
In the doctrine menu here, assessing his options. It's, as you say, they've both gone for their industry focuses so far. Neither of them has picked their relevant faction. We would expect to probably see the Germans and the Soviets. These are the 2 builds we've seen very commonly on this map so far. But they're both delaying that for the time being, using the time to build up their industry and build up their mills particularly. And then when they need the XP to design planes, they can take the focus to pick their faction, get a bunch of XP, and then move on from there. So both exactly the same kind of approach to their focuses so far.
And once again, Seemops goes into his agency very early, gets the spy on the allied nations, wants that information, and does passive defense. Let's figure out, does the passive defense actually do something this time? No, Dankus is not doing agency. This is the second time. It's unfortunate for Seemops once again that he's going for defense. He wants to hunt Dankus' spies, but they don't exist. The best spy that ever existed is the one that didn't exist and is already doing damage. 5 civilian factories are at the moment not working for Seemops.
Yeah, that's a real divergence. All the games so far yesterday, they were all about that both players would both go into the intel agencies, both get passive defense, trying to match each other there. And Dankus is just not fighting on that ground at all. He's happy to concede the spy and the intel information from that because he's confident in his strategy. He doesn't think he needs that. He needs to worry about knowing exactly what Seemops is doing because he believes in what he's doing, and whatever he's got will be enough to overrun Seemops regardless.
Exactly. He looks strong. He's once again just going into the mill focuses. Doesn't need the 100 air XP from the focuses because he knows just from the right at Riser, he's getting passive air XP, which will then design him his plane, and that makes you end up with mills. Interestingly enough, that's what Seemops is doing also now. He is not opening with his pick anymore. He's also opening with 2 sieves into the mills and then using air XP to design that airplane. Let's take a look over that boy, who is also looking at his options. His plane designs are done in 9 days. He can start building these airplanes. Has much more air XP than Dankus. That's quite interesting. That's more than 10 air XP than Dankus. Must have taken the advice a bit earlier, but Dankus took the silent workhorse earlier. In the long run, that doesn't have silent workhorse. In the long run, this is going to give more army political power to Dankus. Now the department, nice, he doesn't waste sieves anymore on passive defense, gets the department done to decrypt Dankus and get some sweet bonuses against his opponent.
Yeah, and the silent workhorse is interesting because you wouldn't ordinarily imagine that that's the one to pick because you'd think it's a long-term play to get political power in a regular game of 44, but actually, having done the numbers, it actually works out over a short hour time period. That pays off for the players, and the additional political power will mean perhaps more generals picked up in the end of the game, and being able to do different things that your opponent might not be able to do if they haven't got the political power to do it.
He now designed his planes. The planes are already not getting efficiency yet. That could be considered a mini mistake. You want one single military factory on anything you produce, especially something as important as your fighters, to start building that efficiency. That was what he's missing right now. Let's take a look back at Dankus, who also must have just finished his airplanes. There they are. And he already has 4 military factories. And you see right there, the efficiency is already building up. These are just little pokes Dankus does that put him a bit into advantage. Hey, you're wasting 5 sieves on passive agency defense. Hey, you are not getting efficiency on your airplanes. And it's not going to win the game in the end, but these are the first small baby steps towards a small advantage for Dankus Memecus.
Yeah, I mean, and those 5 sieves, it's not a huge amount, but it's just those fine margins. A slight advantage for Dankus in the early game means that he just comes into it with slightly more equipment. His opponents, he's not fighting on the ground his opponent wants to fight on in terms of interagency. He's choosing to put that production elsewhere and gain an advantage in an asymmetrical way.
And there we have the first weirdness. Marines coming out of Dankus. That's a 200-day research. It is so strong to have Marines from your pick because you get them for free. But 200-day research into Marines, he wants to plan something for that. What a massive investment. Look at that, chat. 192 days. So much compared to any other research here. That's a big investment into Marines.
I mean, yeah, we got 233 days to go into the war. So he's going to have that Marine research barely 30, 40 days before we actually fight. So that's a really long-term play to get those Marines. Obviously, thinking about naval invasions. So far in the tournament, this map has been a very land-focused map. The Navy's only very peripheral to it, but he's going into Marines as the allies, so he's obviously thinking about some naval invasions along that sort of northern coast for the Netherlands up into Western Germany.
That's something I realized as I played the map myself. Oftentimes, you have certain plans, you research something, but you never use it. In many games, people research Marines, rocket artillery, anti-tank too. But as you actually look at what they're doing, it's never being used. I think it's just nervosity. You have a plan, but once stuff gets heated, once stuff gets fast, your brain utterly just forgets about that stuff. And it's a question of efficiency. Really researching stuff that you genuinely will use. And I wonder what that Marine research is going to do for Dankus.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen with the Allies that it's been very important to get to Amsterdam first, to not have naval invasions there. Of course, that's against the neutral League of Neutrality. There's no defense to that. So he may well be looking at perhaps some naval invasions into defended land that the Axis may be holding towards the end. Perhaps as a distraction tactic. Perhaps he wants them to be strong enough to get some kind of foothold, even if they are pushed out eventually, to then hit him elsewhere. But it's another sort of departure from what we've seen players do on this map over yesterday, both on the Intel Agency and Marines. He's finding a different way of approaching this map, which might be something that Seemops struggles a bit more against because it's a bit more unfamiliar of what you would ordinarily expect on the Rhein map.
Exactly, and we could maybe see something more efficient from Seemops here. He is not getting Marines, he's getting rocket artillery. A beautiful soft attack bonus that really helps you against enemy infantry. And to be honest, these games are very infantry based. You see 1, 2, 3 tanks maybe the most. It's a lot about infantry, and I often thought, is it clever to just focus on killing the enemy infantry? Just outdance the tank, pressure the tank with infantry overpower, and that could be very strong.
Yeah, that's the problem with having one very strong tank division is it can get pinned in place somewhere. It can only be in one place. All of that IC that's gone into making this very beefy division can only be one province on the entire map. If you have rocket artillery, perhaps if he does decide to put it into his infantry divisions or a smaller template, it just means that they're going to have an additional soft attack bonus, which is going to potentially mean his infantry can beat his opponent's infantry reliably, which can be quite a big advantage because in order to defend, then he's going to have to use his tanks as defense and can't use them to their full effect on the offensive. Tanks, as we know, are they're better when they're going forwards and attacking. They're not quite as good when they're defending.
So both players just building their air. We're now getting into the stage of the tournament where we know what's going on. There isn't much weirdness going on than the Marines research by Dankus here, but these players have prepared this stuff. He knows exactly what these Marines are supposed to do. And let me take a look at that division for you real quick, boys, and figure out what that is. That is... Wait, I need to go to the allies, and we're looking at... A 10 with, it's just once again a 10 with, nothing 12, no shovels, nothing. Oh, sorry. It is just a basic 10 with. He loves these. He loves these 10 whiffs. Often players cannot afford to get the shovels in. It's a bit too much, and he's going to spam the front line with that. If you take a look at Seemops here, who is doing something better. That is the battle here. We have 10 with Dankus against 20 with artillery support. Seemops, it's going to be much harder for Seemops to have a lot of these divisions. He's not going to spam them as much as Dankus does, but they're much stronger. And that is the big difference in paths both players are choosing here. And we will know the answer soon, which division is better on this map. I felt when I played the map, it's very big, very long. You really need a lot of divisions to cover everything, and that could really help Dankus here.
Yeah, we've seen players who have gone with stronger divisions struggle with the front line's length, particularly if it gets pushed back in a westerly direction towards the US side. It gets quite wide very, very quickly. But Seemops going with the stronger divisions, he's more interested in having a stronger punch in each division. But the challenge will be making sure he's got enough of the front line covered securely so that he can push where he wants to, and he's not going to get assailed constantly by attacks from Dankus. The allied player Dankus has now taken US Army as his focus, as his pick for the faction.
No Russia.
So no Russia in this one. So it's a Germany against America game, this one.
We're seeing a real D-Day here. The Allies have landed. The US is here. It is a US Dankus build. I wonder if he's going left or right. He shouldn't go right, United States Marine Corps, because he's researching Marines for himself. He should probably go left. Let's take a look at the left of the USA. We're taking a look at Dankus, looking at the focus. If he goes left, we're looking at the US 12th Army Group, which gives you support artillery and 500 artillery. That is going to help him so much. We're getting a CAS variant. We're also getting a nice armored division. I don't know what exactly, if it's medium or heavy. We're going to figure that out. The big red one, a 20 with infantry division. He can produce infantry equipment much better. Even gets a 10% infantry attack bonus. This could be very, very strong. A nice rocket artillery bonus. Passing the torch, you get the very, very, very strong Dwight Eisenhower. The players are saying he might be the strongest field marshal in the game because of his planning factor. Your planning bonus just gets so strong. They even balanced this from the last time. It was too strong, and Dwight D. Eisenhower is just very, very strong. And then the ultimate of the USA, Arsenal of Democracy, an unbelievable industry buff that you just cannot keep up with. This could be very, very strong control built by Dankus.
Yeah, we've seen the US be extremely strong throughout this tournament so far. That pick on the Allied side has a lot of different options. Whether or not the pick of the Marines ties in at all to his pick of the US, which you could do, two choices there that have gone away from what we've seen in previous rounds on this map, and we haven't yet seen the US on across the Rhine. So interesting stuff, from both players who have made some different choices on how they want to approach this. Seemops there still doing intel agency upgrades. He's still burning through those civs, and Dankus is not at all fighting on that front. Whether there's anything that Seemops can do with the intel agency, he can take some kind of advantage from having no resistance on that front from Dankus. That might be something that plays into it later on. As he's decrypting, it seems.
I always wonder, I don't know the answer, is it worth it? You spend all these civs, you decrypt your enemy. Are the bonuses that strong? The problem with these bonuses, first of all, you get the basic bonus, 5% air detection. That's what you really want here. And interception, which helps you a lot with the air war. But You're allowed to press this button once you decrypt your enemy, and then for only 30 days, it takes a very good player to find the right timing for this click. You get good bonuses, in this case 15% defense and 15% breakthrough, but it's only 30 days. It takes a really good player to know exactly when to press that. A big difference between both the players. Seemops with the decryption over Dankus.
Yeah, and we have 104 days to go until war. So by the time that's decrypted and you get even the passive bonus, we'll be well inside the actual war itself. So it's something that can come into it at late game, but the difficulty is that there, with the agency, particularly in Vanilla Hoi, it's quite a long-term investment. If you want to do some of the more advanced operations, it takes a long time to get there, and there's not quite, you would imagine, the time in this 60-minute session.
Next picking.
Here we go. 12th Army Group.
He went left. He went left. Gets the Amongarand. Gets very, very good equipment here. Looks at his options. Very interesting. Wait, something changed there. I just saw something change since he picked it. I want to look at that. He just had something different there in the air bonus. What was that? He now gets 10820 casts. That wasn't there before, because now he picked it, and now we can see the full scale of the tree. 100 casts of the 820 going his way here. Also very, very good for Dankus.
Yeah, so
the air war.
Really strong boost to his air power there. Seemops went down the Panzer Group West route in the German tree, as we probably would have expected. He's gone down for supplies from the sky, which gives him a bunch of infantry equipment. Tail artillery and transport plane, and now he's changed that. Actually, he's now working on 10th Panzer Division to get that improved heavy tank chassis and get that 32 width, very strong tank division that German side gets in this tree.
80 days left before the war. I'm getting nervous. I'm very excited to see them battle it out. On this map, you don't often see stalemate. People just looking at each other, building up, looking for little pokes. No, there's always action here on the Rhine. And in just less than 80 days, we're going in. The build-ups are looking strong. People are building a lot of weapons because they know they need to fill the front lines with infantry. Going for a little bit of Navy doctrines here. I mean, he's researching that really, really expensive marine research for 200 days. He needs to make these marines work. Otherwise, that research slot has been occupied by nothing for 200 days. Looks at Navy. Looks now what he can do here in the Spirit of Division Command. Spirit of the Army, rather. I love how the players are still reading this stuff. They didn't prepare it all completely. It's not fully in their muscle memory. And he might end up with nothing. Just looking at stuff.
Just browsing.
Just browsing. Just reading and learning the game. Now building Lightning McQueen, a 10 with motorized division.
Yeah, 10 width motorized, I think that template is. It's just a very fast template that's going to maybe get in behind or do a naval invasion. It's quite big for naval, but to get in behind and cover the front line and then exploit it. You know, drive force into their areas, make the front line big, and pull Seemops' bigger divisions out of unable to cover the front, being overwhelmed by all these guys from Dankus. The thing to remember though, if it's Dankus pushing, the front line gets shorter as you get into Germany. Yep. So actually that might he might struggle to take that all the way into the heartland of the Axis player, because the front actually gets smaller as you do that. There are some interesting different production focuses from the two sides. Dankus has convoys as his #1 priority for production right now, and then fighters, and then he has flame tanks down here in production for that massive suffer tank bonus, and then we have CAS and equipment right down here. On the other side, Seemops has gone for, he has fighters right at the top, 50 on fighters, guns, motorized, support equipment, and then artillery. Really sort of strong infantry division focus, just using the tanks he gets from his focuses, and trying to have a real strong base across the entire front line to support his attacks.
This could be the soft attack battle between flame tanks and rocket artillery, whereas Dankus is already building flame tanks. That's going to be a nice addition to his armies. Now gets the 5th Light Division. How many days are we? 38 days. We're getting very close. The Marines have just finished. Dankus, what are you going to do with these Marines, Dankus? Tell us. You finished them. There's the 2 Lightning McQueens. Even pushed them out. Didn't even train them to their full potential. But I think they're just they're all about just rushing. These 2 divisions are to take Cologne and Amsterdam as quick as possible. 12 kilometers per hour. I know that in the Germany tree, though, you spawn 2 motorized divisions that give you 16 kilometers an hour, which are just much faster than these 2 Dankus motorized divisions here. Let's figure out who's going to take Cologne and Amsterdam first, as we're in the final month, 29 days before the war starts.
Yeah, 4 kilometers faster for the German motorized ones over the ones that Dankus has made here, like the McQueen divisions, which is not a lot, but it can get you a couple of provinces further than in a short period of time, which can be vital for getting hold of Cologne. which has been a real battle point for both sides. Control of that vital Cologne crossing and being able to get the buffer zone around it on the west bank, if you're the Axis, can be really important for protecting it.
Gets the 100 cast, but now we see what I was talking about. He has researched Marines for 200 days, but doesn't do anything with them now. Maybe for late game, but once you're in the war, your brain turns off and focuses on other stuff, and you're not going to think about designing Marine division anymore. This could have been a waste of 200 days. We'll figure that out. The air is in. It's getting not trained. He's already setting up. A very strong tactic in this game is to really get your air out early and train it up a bit. The air bonuses of training are very, very, very strong. And he's looking for the north here. Once again, if you have green air, your units move a bit faster. And the big first question is, who's going to hold Amsterdam? Who's going to hold Cologne?
Well, that's the key thing. There is no naval invasion currently on the Allied side towards Amsterdam, and we're only a handful of days away, 8 days away. There is one on the German side, so it may well be the Germans are going to get to Amsterdam first.
There you go.
And Dankus isn't committing at all to a naval invasion to seize it first, which means he's going to have quite a difficult task potentially of crossing the Rhine if he wants to try and get that, or perhaps he's decided, I'm going to give it up entirely and try and take Cologne and Frankfurt, which are also in rough terrain and will be hard to retake for the German side if the Allies get a hold of them. But he'll have to beat them to the punch at Cologne and Frankfurt, which is quite difficult to do.
Look at that. He has an utter decryption of Dankus. Sees every single division. I want to show that real quick, what that means. This is the site from Seemops, and because he invested so much into his... Oh, there, the war stopped. Because of investing so much, he can see everything his enemy does. He knows exact numbers. He can even see templates, everything. What do you do that again? He can even see 10 with Nightmare Green. He sees there's no tank. Utter information here for Seemops.
And actually, on the western front here, we've got Allied troops already in Amsterdam. They got there probably quicker, just driving through than they did in the naval. They did via the naval invasion in previous rounds. They are being attacked though straight away by the Axis troops, which naval invaded the port just north of Amsterdam.
Such a good play by Seemops. He's pinning the one coming from the south. The heavy tank joins, and he can now easily take Amsterdam, and Dankus can do nothing about that. Very well played.
Extremely well done.
There's the beautiful pin. He doesn't care about winning that. He just doesn't want these 3 divisions of Rotterdam. Going to Amsterdam, gets a 99, takes Amsterdam. Beautiful play. That is high level. Good. Well done. And now he is holding the Amsterdam victory point. Cologne also in his hand. He might lose that one, though. Dankus is doing well there. Now, just has reinforced it. Cologne is holding for him. A great start for Seemops.
Yeah, we've got all 3 victory points currently in Axis hands under Seemops' control. Dankus being just getting to the borders of Cologne, but not able to actually push into it. And Amsterdam here now held by the Axis. The Hague is held by the Allies. They have got this foothold north of the Rhine, which is quite important. If Seemops is able to get rid of this, he's got a lovely border to defend along here, which will be really hard for the Allies to push across.
Seemops with a little advantage here. Took a bun. The air war also going well for both sides. Both sides are in different air zones. And now we're getting into the first little stalemate. Who is going to have the solutions? Where is Dankus' tank? So let's take a look here at Dankus. Let's take a double look at Dankus. And where is his tank? Where's that heavy tank? Did he ever take it yet? He's not taking a focus. Yeah, he took it. There has to be a tank somewhere. What does he do with it?
I don't see any tanks in Dankus' army currently.
Not taking a focus at the moment. I don't know if he's just microing so hard or he wants to save PP. I'm looking right now where his tank is. He might have changed it? No.
In the division list for his army, I can't see a tank division currently in Dankus' divisions.
That is very weird. He took the focus but doesn't have the tank. Also, his divisions, as I'm checking them, don't have tanks in them. He might have tried something weird with them, but they're nowhere to...
He hasn't finished it yet. The How Long Wheels focus, he hasn't finished it yet, Dankus. He's still got 19 days left before he gets the 32 width armored division from his tree.
Oh man, I'm looking at Seemops at the moment. I'm looking at Seemops, and I'm like, why is there no heavy tank? Well, we see the heavy tank north from Seemops. Dankus, hasn't spotted his tanks yet, and I'm just so shocked that he has a US build here, which we haven't seen before, and he still has the opportunity to spawn in tanks here. Gets the bonuses from the Superior Power Forward tree, and that could help Dankus a lot, spawning in that tank. Germany's stuck on 1 tank right now. It's a strong tank, though, the Tiger heavy tank. Yeah,
it's a super strong division, and the good thing for Seemops at this point is that he's in a great position. He doesn't need to push. The Amsterdam play, the fact that he has Amsterdam is a real change from previous rounds on this map. Traditionally, we've seen Allied naval invasions. They've been able to get to Amsterdam first and take it and secure it. But I think because Dankus went over land. He rushed over land rather than naval invading. His troops have then been ejected from Amsterdam quite quickly by the Axis that have naval invaded, leaving this situation here with all 3 victory points in. Oh no, Cologne in fact has fallen to the Allies.
I'm starting to see
it's being counterattacked. Yeah, counterattacked.
I'm seeing a big problem for Dankus here. You do not have tanks. Your enemy has much better infantry. We showed before, Seemops is playing a 20 with infantry with artillery support, whereas Dankus is just spamming 10 with that has nothing in it. Right now, Seemops' army is so massively stronger than Dankus. And it doesn't even matter who wins the air war at the moment if the divisions are that much better and he's using it.
He's got a great chance here with this push west of Cologne, Seemops. The armies ahead of him are in bad supply and they're being driven back.
Well, Dankus, what are you doing against that? Maybe you focus too much on the air. The 200-day marine research didn't help. And now Seemops' army is just overwhelming him. The heavy tank can do whatever it wants. The special divisions, we can see them with their symbols on Seemops' side, are so strong, so much stronger than the 10 that is for sure.
There are huge holes there, huge holes in the Allied line. They got tanks rampaging.
Can do what it wants. Dankus is in trouble here. The sweat is going. And if Seemops plays it well here, the heavy tank has nothing behind it, though. The heavy tank is very open. A Bitbock might just encircle it. Is Seemops going too far?
He's got to be careful. He's got to be careful.
Left.
Or he pull back just in time.
This is a massive micro mistake by Seemops here. And he is going to lose that tank. He didn't follow it up. You could see especially, look at Bonn. There was 4 divisions there that were really focused on the battle, and he didn't move them to the left. The tank was left alone. The tank didn't have to spy. And once again, Seemops loses his tank early in the game.
I mean, this is a critical potential by mistake by Seemops. Losing this tank means that his advantage of having that ability to just push through, because Dankus has no tanks, evaporates, and Dankus will get tanks very shortly.
Saves it!
But he does
Beautiful.
save it.
There's the 4 Bonn division. Saves it, but it took damage. But oh my God, Seemops says, I'm not losing the tank again.
Oh, now he's got his encirclement of his own.
Maastricht encirclement, 3 10-withs going down. The beautiful thing about 10-with builds is, if you lose like 20 divisions, you're still kind of fine. They're just 10-withs. But it's the beginning of something. The tank is saved. It's a different Seemops than yesterday. Beautiful encirclement of 3 10-withs. And Dankus needs to figure something out right now.
Yeah, now with that tank saved, the front line is just in a very bad place for Dankus. It's only a few tiles, in fact, to the coast to get to Amsterdam, and then you cut off troops all north of there. He's still holding that line because he wants to hold that position above the river line and close to Amsterdam.
I also don't understand why he's not putting his cast closer to the battle. There's a lot of airports there, and the closer the cast is, the more damage it can do, the more efficient it is. And that was a beautiful push by Seemops, clutching the save of the heavy tank. Another encirclement of the 10-with in the south. Dankus in trouble here. We have the micro war we were looking for, and Dankus seems not to be winning it at the moment.
Yeah, he's really struggling right now with this push from Seemops. So now he's trying to recover the situation. He's pushing up in Bavaria on the eastern side of the line somewhat, and he's got a salient there, but he needs to get his tanks into action as soon as possible and try and regain the initiative here, because it's a huge problem for him in the Netherlands here as well, as you can see as Seemops comes forward. So he's got 1 province left before he's going to be cut off in the Netherlands, in fact, and that's more territory being yielded to the Axis.
And Dankus is finally calling his solution to this. There is the tank division, the first armored division of the Americas, has finally spawned. Maybe a bit too late, but now he has to be careful. He's running into the heavy tank already. Very, very scary. Beautiful moves here. This is, you know what we're seeing here? This is a 10-with counter. The way you counter 10-withs is you just have better infantry. And the infantry is doing so much pressure on all fronts. And Dankus only has 1 medium tank, 32-with division. The heavy tank is hunting it down, and the heavy tank is better than medium tank. This is looking grim right now for Dankus, who's losing another 2 divisions in Rotterdam. The push looks amazing. Seemops looking amazing at the moment in this game.
Yeah, you've got the crucial problem for Dankus here, which is that he has his tanks, but the German tanks beat his tanks roughly at the moment, and because the terrain is already gone to the Axis, everywhere else on the line, the Axis infantry are better than his infantry, which means that wherever he can hold a bit better where his tanks are, but elsewhere he's losing ground because Seemops' infantry have got artillery and they're bigger divisions. And
if you just looked at Louvain, you saw that Dankus tried something with the medium tank, but the German heavy tank was hunting it down, pinning it down, making it utterly useless in that scenario. And the medium tank is just not enough. I sometimes have a feeling the players care too much about air. Air, but where is the micro? Where is the good micro divisions? These 20 whiffs with shovels. I'm just checking real quick if he finally maybe put up his rocket artillery, or if it's once again a research players do but never use it. Yes, no rocket artillery is being used by Seemops. He's researching it. There's 52 of them, maybe more for late game. But this heavy tank of Germany is doing great right now. And this could really come down to a massive mistake from Dankus choosing the USA. If you choose Russia, you have that heavy tank, you have the medium tank, you can counter what Germany is doing here. And this might be another game where just the wrong pick has so much impact to what happens in the game.
Absolutely, but Seemops has to be careful here as he pushes west. The front line gets wider and wider and wider, which is going to play into the hands of the more numerous, smaller divisions that Dankus has. He's got to make sure he doesn't get his tanks cut off, he doesn't lose his tanks, and doesn't start bleeding divisions to encirclements from a line he can't hold.
There.
That like this is a very strong push here towards Eindhoven by the Allied troops.
Seemops can easily take this game if he just stays focused and stays on high APM. This Eindhoven push is not strong enough. Once Amsterdam falls, these 4 divisions can help. He's killing 3 divisions again.
Circlement there, nice.
Beautifully done.
Very tidy, very measured.
Very well done.
This is about for Seemops. It's trying to ensure that he doesn't let Dankus back into the game. He's won himself a really strong position.
Dankus is still focused. He's not giving up. Doesn't try any emotion here. The damage is being done, though. More and more damage is being done. These Tenrus are dying, and that is going to hurt his guns. I'm going to take a quick look at Dankus's weapons. Minus 2,500, where Seemops is at minus 8,000 guns. That is a bit the weakness, maybe, of having such good infantry. He's losing a lot of guns here.
Yeah, the problem here of Seemops has 5 factories on artillery. He's got factories on he's building rocket artillery. He's building support equipment and trucks. Whereas Dankus is more focusing on just guns. It's all he's got. So it's a much simpler supply chain, which means that we may see Seemops encountering more and more issues with his logistics in terms of getting the right guns to the front.
Sorry, it might even make sense for him to just be defensive now. He's running out of, as we see here, manpower. It's on 0. He has no guns. And one thing I wanted to show real quick, because I love it so much, is overproduction of things. He's producing a lot of artillery, but has too much of it. He's not using it anymore. It would be very cool at high level to turn the mills down here, put them on the guns that you actually need. Also, you're researching something and building something you don't use. For example, Dankus with the 200-day marine research. And I think when we reach high levels in the meta of these one-on-one maps, people... Oh, I just got teleported somewhere. We will understand that a lot of these things players do have to be a bit more efficient.
Yeah, and it's just trying to... It's the key with these kinds of things is having the high level function to know that, and whilst you're trying to micro as well for your life on the attack.
Thanks. So well, life, he just encircled Brussels, and that is some high level divisions he just killed there. Brussels is going down. The medium tank did its thing. Where's the heavy tank from Germany? It's in the middle doing nothing. He has to go north and help. This is devastating. He's already out of guns. His manpower is just dropping. He just spawned like 35k. That is going down rapidly. And 2 good divisions are saying bye-bye in Brussels.
Yeah, this is the trap that Seemops has got here. You want to stay active. You want to stay on the offensive, putting your opponent under pressure. But when you've got these stronger divisions, these bigger divisions, you've got less of them. As the front line expands, you want to keep going forwards, but you're overstretching yourself. You're leaving the gaps start to appear in your line. And Dankus has punished him here with 2 divisions in Brussels encircled, and there's a furious battle going on to relieve them, but whether or not he can actually get in there, his tanks have arrived now.
Oh, he might take it, he might save it. This is his second save in this game. Beautiful
I mean,
play.
He arrives late, but they just demolished the division immediately.
Beautiful. And the Brussels division still have great equipment. There wasn't much damage done. This is the second time Seemops is saving something. Dankus is not securing these encirclements, and another massive moral victory for Seemops. There's massive opening south of Liege that Seemops is exploiting. Look at that micro. Dankus is getting microed against the wall here. That is what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, just when you think that Dankus has, struck back in a really strong way, Seemops counters him. His tanks just melted Dankus' infantry. They have no response on the infantry front. Only Dankus' tanks, it seems, can stand up. But when Seemops deploys his own tanks, it's really struggling for Dankus.
Beautifully done by Seemops so far. He might be taking that game back. He says, "You have Malta, I have micro," and that could really hurt Dankus here. He's still very focused. He's not giving up. The problem with the Dankus build is 10 rifts are great, 100%. But in a situation like this, your 10 rifts ain't going to do nothing. If we're being real here, the only thing Dankus has is a 32 with medium tank that is facing a German heavy tank. And if that tank that is red right here, we see him working on it, and he's working on it right now. Even going down now because he's running out of equipment. He's trying his best with this tank. If this tank doesn't carry this right now, it looks very, very bad for Dankus.
I saw Flame Tank company that was going in, but yeah, that's this is the problem with he's gone for the US build. The Soviet build tanks are more able to stand up equally to the German tank division they get. The US ones don't seem to be able to cut the mustard when they're having to face off against the German heavy tanks, and because the infantry on the German side is superior, Seemops can push where the American tank isn't.
Yeah,
and he's always able to be on the offensive. And even when Dankus strikes back, he's got the ability with his own tank to break the encirclement and relieve whatever unit he's stuck.
Yeah, and Seemops is looking beautiful here. He built an anti-10 build, and it's working out perfectly. And it would have looked different if there was a different pick from Dankus, for example, the Russians. And Seemops looks amazing here. Stays active, beautiful micro. The front line of Dankus looking more and more in trouble. He even fixed his manpower mistakes. Just a second ago, we saw Dankus is at 0 manpower, and the push is going on. He's not just defending, knowing I have all the victory points, I can win. And this is beautiful. Calais getting encircled. This might be a very quick game, an early GG. Seemops playing amazing here.
Yeah, just really good micro across the board from Seemops here. Dankus is really struggling. Obviously, with more divisions, there's more things to micro. More individual counters you've got to move on the screen. Seemops is just able, it seems, to stay in control. He's putting his opponent under pressure relentlessly. Calais is going to fall here, be another division that goes down.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. And man, you know what that means? You know what that means? If he wins, we have our first game number 3. And dear chat, for the first time ever in an official game, not just a 2v2 game, you're going to see the Southeast Asia map. We're going to see the Nashinron map, the island hopping map, the crazy map. And Dankus needs to figure something out there if he wants to take the series down. Seemops, I told you guys, he was my favorite, and he's showing it now, showing that he belongs in this tournament.
Yeah, heading towards a deciding match here. As you say, it'll be on the Nashinron, the Southeast Asian map. That will be a 1v1, of course, and it is a big map with a lot of things to keep track of. Envisage maybe it's a 2v2 map in the long run, but played on a 1v1 basis, that will be a very interesting matchup.
I'm so interested. I'm so happy to sit down on the couch, get my pasta, and see the Nashinron map. So exciting about that. This could even be not a GG. This could be a capitulation. Paris is getting close.
Paris is threatened, and that will. I mean, Paris is such a huge victory point for the Allies. They're already at 47% capitulation. Paris will jump that up by a huge amount.
And there we go. The medium tank and the heavy tank are meeting once again. But just like the heavy tank is representing Ronaldo and the medium tank is representing Messi, Ronaldo is just a better player. And there we see Dankus shaking his head, calling the GG. He called the GG. 1-1. Gentlemen, we're going to game number 3. I'm so excited about that. We're going to see the Nashinron map. Seemops taking it.
The first equalizer of the tournament so far.
Going to be a long day, ladies and gentlemen, but look at him. This is going to be exciting. I'm so excited to see this. A beautiful play. And what I thought was so interesting about this game is how people do stuff that they don't use. Why do you research Marines for 200 days? You never use it, right?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting... I mean, whether it's a mistake from Dankus, he also had an idea in his head to do with the US build. But whatever it was, Seemops has just countered it. Yeah. He's just taken it with the 10 width had been countered off the board, and he's not had much else to be able to turn the tide.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about this tournament is these 3 different maps are so different. We just saw the micro map that went to Seemops. We saw the North Africa map, which is very different than all the other maps that took Dankus. And now we're going to a map that is not about micro and about the better build-up or the picks. It's about who can mess with the other player the most with the island hopping stuff. We're going to probably see some Yamato battleships. I'm very excited about that. What are your feelings about game number 3?
I think it's really interesting because the challenge in the larger map is that it's very hard for both players to play perfectly on a map that big.
Yes.
It's very hard for one person to stay completely on top of everything, which means it's going to be, I think it's a leveler in skill terms, because a player can slip up, they can be looking in the wrong place when something crucial happens, and that can cause a real upset or a quick turn in fortunes.
Well, that was a great game to cast with you. Thank you so much. And we're going back into a break or the studio or something. We're going to figure it out in a second. But what a great game. Game number 3. The first time Southeast Asia. Things are getting mad exciting over here. Tell your friends to tune in and see you later.